Hi guys, it's Ms.Checka. I am standing in front of Bletchley Park in England. I just did a video, which I hope you watch, on the World War II code breaking, which happened here at Bletchley Park. That's what it's famous for. But I wanted to make another video about one of the men who worked here, and his name was Alan Turing. So Alan Turing was a genius and an interesting person. When he was a kid, when he was 13 years old, he had a chance to go to a school that he desperately wanted to study at, and the day that he was supposed to school, there was a strike, so there was no like trains or anything for him to get there. So at age 13, he was like, forget it, I have decided that I'm going to school, I'm going. And he rode his bike 60 miles. He rode his bike 60 miles and stayed overnight in an inn in order to get to school. That's when the kid was 13. So this was a man who grew up to be determined, accomplished, focused, and you can see that even in his early life. So he went to the school, obviously. He grew up. He studied at Cambridge University, which is not far from here. He went on to do graduate study also at Princeton University in the US. Then he comes back to England, and somewhere along the way, World War II starts. So he's called upon by his government to use his math skills and his intellect to work on code breaking, because they had all of these secret messages that they could see coming back and forth between Axis powers, but they couldn't understand the codes. So Alan Turing comes and works here, and he sees the work that his colleagues are doing and basically invents different mechanisms to make that work much faster. And during wartime, everything has to be very fast, right? So he improves upon a Polish machine called the bomb, which is, I mean, that's what I would name my machine if I had one, like a code-breaking machine. He improves upon this. He comes up with systems. So one is called Banburismus, one is called Turingismus. I like the one called Banburismus because it's named after the town where the numbers were printed at, Banbury, which is also the town that used to print all the fairy tales. That's how we get the saying, you know, telling a Banbury tale, you're telling something crazy. Anyway, he comes up with these systems, and he also, on his own time, which is insane, it's the middle of World War II, and he is still somehow writing all of these mathematical papers. And then around campus, he was a marathon runner, and the man could run huge distances. He tried out at some point for the Olympic team. So his contributions were huge. After the war ends, he's recognized by the British government kind of privately, but nobody publicly can know what he did or about any of these massive advances, because it's so secret, right? Everything that happened here was top secret, classified. By definition, they're code breakers. So after the war, he continues on his work. He writes a paper on mathematical biology, I think, computational biology. I think I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. But anyway, he writes this huge paper, and he also begins to think about the possibility of a computer that could store programs, which is a huge advancement. And he also did a thinking exercise of if we had computers, artificial intelligence. So it's not that he came up with the idea of artificial intelligence, but he came up with something that we now call the Turing test. It's named after him. And the Turing test is basically a method of trying to figure out, like, if you had a computer that was so advanced and so sophisticated that it could mimic human behavior, can it pass for human behavior? I know that's not the best explanation, but I encourage you to look this up. Anyway, he ends up having tragedy at the end of his life because Alan Turing was gay. So after the war, hugely accomplished man, he has a romantic relationship with somebody, and the apartment where he lives in gets robbed, and the police come, and I can't even picture how this would happen, but when the police come and he's saying like, hey, I called you because my house got robbed, what they latch onto is, are you in a romantic relationship with this other man? Because the real crime here is that, not that your house got robbed, but that you're gay. He got arrested, he gets his security clearance taken away, he is threatened that they're going to send him to jail, and his only option to not go to jail is that he has to take chemicals it's called chemical castration, and it's just terrible. It's tragic, because literally he was prosecuted for being a gay man after he saved the Western world, or contributed very highly to that. Anyway, he dies soon afterwards, and it's not for decades and decades and decades later, after all of this stuff becomes declassified, that people come forward, and especially scientists who can fully appreciate what he did, people come forward and say, you know, the real crime here is that the British government prosecuted this man who is, you know, has given so much, not just to our country, but to humanity. And so the Queen of England officially pardoned him. And this year, in 2017, they made a law saying that not only is Alan Turing pardoned for the crime of being gay, but every man who has ever been arrested in the UK for being gay has been pardoned for it. So I encourage you to read up on Alan Turing and Bletchley Park, and to give a little salute to this guy who contributed a lot. Okay, thanks.